Alright, lads, welcome back to another episode of Who's Got the Ball. Myself and Shane here once again. Usually we say this at the end, but I'm throwing it in here at the start. If you could just take 1 second, pause the video if you're on YouTube, pause the podcast, or keep listening if you're on Spotify, and just click that follow button or click that subscribe button. And if you have been enjoying us, give us a 5-star review. We would really appreciate that because we have been seeing an uptake in listeners recently, and we'd like to see that as subscribers and followers too. So if you could do that, we'd really appreciate it. But Shane, what is the crack? How are you?
Not a whole lot. I was trying to think. Normally, I have something to say here about what I did at the weekend, but I didn't really do a whole lot, to be perfectly honest. So just kept it quiet, just keep ticking over. Watch Liverpool play Man City. We'll talk about that shortly. And I just want to echo what you said there about liking and subscribing. As you all know, we're on the road to 100,000 subscribers. I'm never going to give up until we get there. So the sooner you do it, the sooner I'll stop talking about it.
Yeah, up to like 322 now on YouTube, so it's creeping ever closer every day
Yeah,
to
you
that
never know.
100,000. Yeah, we're on the doorstep. We mentioned last week as well about Ireland, the rugby game. It was on the night we recorded, and
Oh.
we both were like, oh, they're going to lose, and it was just pure domination. So I guess by France. So I guess we're hoping that something a bit different against Italy. But the way Italy played against
I threw out a
Scotland,
score prediction. I threw out a score prediction for that, and I think I said 38-19 or something, so I wasn't that far away from getting that spot on, but Ireland were just chronic.
yeah, and I wouldn't feel I'm not confident about this Italy game either. Are you?
No, not with all the changes. Six changes. Prendergast starting again, despite the fact that he was quite poor in France. I think, like, what does Prendergast have to do for Crowley to even get the Italy game? Like, whenever I bring Prendergast back in for your big games, your England, your Scotland, like, give Crowley a run out against Italy, surely. It makes no sense to keep him on the bench. But yeah, I'm glad Dog goes on the bench and will get his debut. I think he could be a monster for us going forward. Other than that, if you can't beat Italy at home, then Farrell might need to go.
Yeah, a couple of nice young inclusions at least I think is the only positive, but yeah, some
Mm,
questionable other decisions there. And yeah, some of the players that did get dropped, you're like, all right, there is rotation there because it's shortened, but like I don't know why it went the way it did in some cases. But anyway, let's hope for a win for Ireland. But
yeah,
like we both said, we're not holding out hope. But that'll be the main event this weekend with the FA Cup not really being the most interesting thing in the world unless your club is still in it. So enjoy that one, Liverpool and Brighton.
I will.
Um,
Thank you.
a lot to talk about in this episode. We started out with the NBA and we chatted about All-Star Snubs, which players we thought should have made it that didn't, and a quick chat about some of the competitors in the dunk contest and the 3-point contest, and generally how it's kind of a bit of a joke. Then we
Mm.
moved into chatting about the Premier League. So we talked about City beating Liverpool, how that was the performance of the weekend last weekend, but how both teams played quite well and City are keeping the title race alive. Then we talked about the sackings of Sean Dyche from Forest and Thomas Frank from Spurs, two teams that are sitting towards the bottom, but we had different opinions on which ones we thought was right or not because I think it's two very different situations despite them both being in the same spot. And then after that, we went into our Gone Chance, gave our underdog predictions, talked about the NFL. Obviously, the Super Bowl had to be given a recap, so we went into detail on that, what we thought about it, and what's to come next season for the Patriots and Seahawks, given the way things have ended, and how impressed we were with the Seahawks in general. And then after that, wrapped it up with the power rankings as usual. Massive episode. Let's jump straight into it. Okay, so we'll start with the NBA this week. We've going to take a look at the All-Star weekend since that's what's coming up. I think it's becoming less and less interesting every year to look at it really, no matter how many times they change the format, unless you have like a player you like or from your team that's in either the 3-point contest or the dunk contest. I think the actual game itself is just a waste of time, and the format this year has changed again. But what we're going to do is look at the All-Star snubs, players we thought should have got in that didn't, because I think that's more interesting than looking at the rosters and picking apart who is in there, because it's not like all NBA. It's not like something that really matters. It is just an all-star thing. It's like the Pro Bowl in the NFL. It's not like the end of the world, but there is certain players that it doesn't really make sense to me why they didn't get in. So I'll let you go ahead first if you have anybody at the top of your mind you want to shout out that didn't make it that you think should have.
Yeah, so I have two that were left out completely and one that's only on reserve that probably should have been in the main roster. So the two that have been left out are the two Spurs players, Stephon Castle and De'Aaron Fox. I can't believe
Okay.
that at least one of them didn't get in. And it's mad to me. Like, I understand that there's a lot of competition there, the likes of Anthony Edwards, Jamal Murray, they're probably the ones that are in Fox and in particularly Stefan Castle's way. But Castle's stats for the season 16.7 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, 46.8% field goal range. And he had that 40 point triple double as well, which kind of should be putting him at the top of everyone's minds. And the Aaron Fox then is 19.3, 4 and 6 for the season as well. So not quite as high as Castle, but definitely with the way Spurs have been playing, it's and Wemby has missed so many games as well. So it's not like it's been all about Wemby is the reason that they're flying so high. It's been the whole team, and these two in particular were massive misses for me.
Yeah, yeah. That those weren't two that I had, but I think the one of them probably should have gotten in given how good the Spurs have been. And like you said, Wemby hasn't played all season. He's missed a good number of games. So you would think that one of them then gets the credit for a lot of this. I think Castle is an interesting case because he's a way better defender as well.
Mm.
And but then if you were to pick one that voters would actually go for, it would probably be Fox just because of the name and because of the move he got there and the trade, and everybody knows more about him. But I think Castle is a great option that should have been considered because now that I think about how good his defense is, obviously that's not considered as much for the All-Star game as it would be for say All NBA. But like he's probably going to be first team all defense, if not second team all defense, and then you're not even getting a look in here, especially with the ability he's shown on offense. He's stepped up massively. Like,
Yeah, it's just mental to me that, especially with the defense, as you said, and he is going to be right up there in the voting for the all defensive team. But like 16.7 points per game is nothing to be sniffed at, especially when Wemby is playing, because you're just kind of complimenting him. And Spurs are just winning games left, right, and centre. They're looking so, so good. And the fact that neither of these two got in has just kind of it threw me off a little bit. The other one I wanted to mention then is Chet Holmgren. I know he's on the reserve list, but he should be in the starting teams. If not starting teams, then definitely in the squads, not just waiting for someone to drop out in injury. He gets in then because he's another man. The OKC, they haven't been as good recently, but he's still 17 points per game. Um, 17 points, 9 rebounds and 2 assists. He's
hmm
only 25% from three, but he's also averaging 2 blocks a game. So he's flying on the defensive side again. And
yeah,
especially when Shea is missing out, them not having one of their kind of big stars. Like I think Chet will be after missing his first year through injury. Chet's a name that's known around the NBA, so it'd be kind of someone that people be looking for, and he's just not there. It's madness to me as well.
yeah. J Dub being out as well, you don't really have anyone then representing
Yeah,
best team in the league, which is kind of mad to think about. And again, you said their defensive, his prowess on defense is massive, and then that's being overlooked. This is just like a gimmick of a game. Like they don't care about so many things. The voters are just voting for their favorites, and then you see people sway their vote based on what they want to see in the game.
yeah,
And I think Shengun was another one that was ridiculous that he was only an injury replacement. Like he should have been in there from the start. Like he's probably having one
yeah,
of his best seasons, if not his best season. And he's looked better offensively and defensively. Like he looks so good this year. And the fact that he only got in to replace Shea, I thought that was
yeah.
kind of more
Mad.
outrageous than anybody who actually did miss out. Um, but I have a list of four. Two of them I think are kind of guys who are great, but they're on a hopeless team, and that's Keontae George and Lowry Markkinen with the Jazz. Like
Yeah,
they're 17 and 37, so it's kind of hard to consider them. But like Keontae is 34 minutes per game, 24 points per game, 4 boards, 6.5 assists, and a steal, and he's shooting a career high from the field and from three at 45.8% and 37.5%. So he's like superstar in the making by the looks of it. And it'd be interesting to see what happens with him when they have to pay him because they've got Jaren Jackson there now and they have to pay Lowry and they still have to pay Kessler. So it's interesting if they will pay him or not. But he looks really, really good. And then obviously Lowry is 27 points per game. It's his career high, 7 boards
Yeah.
and 1.5 steals and blocks. But again, they're playing on the Jazz, so I think that probably hinders their chances there more than actually the fact that they're playing so well.
Yeah, I think Michael Porter Jr. is another one who's kind of fallen into
Yeah,
that
100%.
category as well. Another one who can probably feel hard done by to not be in, just because Brooklyn are absolutely garbage as well. I agree with you on the two lads from the Jazz, and the Jazz have kind of they picked up a small bit in the last couple of weeks, but they're obviously still like they're rubbish if we're being honest about it. So that's probably why they're missing out. But I agree. I don't know what they're going to do come the end of the season. They have to pay all these lads they brought in and kind of see like who's going where going forward. And he might be the one that does drop out of the reckoning. But any team in the league will be looking to pick him up as soon as they can, and they'll give him. He'll get a serious contract next year, no matter where he goes.
Yeah, he's going to get a massive payday, and that might be the reason why they miss out on him because the market is going to be so high. Like
Yeah,
they're just egregiously tanking though. Like the other night they were beating the Magic in the fourth quarter and they sat out Jackson, Markkinen, and George. Like I don't know if
yeah.
they get away without getting a fine for this or something against them because it is so obvious what they're doing. And then two more I have. I think these are ones I seriously think should have made it. First up is Joel Embiid. So I know I'm a Sixers fan, but the numbers he puts up when he's on the court, and again, he probably wouldn't have played because he sat out the last two games with injury. So I doubt he would have played in the All-Star game. But 31 games, 31 minutes per game, 26.6 points, 7.5 boards, 4 assists, a block. And the team is 19 and 12 with him. And now they're 11 and 12 without him. So just under 500 without him. And when they're with him, they're one of the best teams in the East. So the difference he makes, he's missed a good few games, but that's because he's rotating in and out. There's like I think he's played more than enough games to be considered for the All-Star game,
Mm.
considering the level that he's at. And then the second one I had is James Harden. I think it's a disgrace that he didn't get in. He's been so good this season. It's been one of his best that I can remember in recent years. Obviously, it's nowhere near the Rockets level Harden that we saw before. But in terms of maybe the last 4 years, it's probably his best. Like the Clippers weren't anything amazing early on, but he was keeping their head above water when Kawhi was out and so many people were out. And then when Kawhi came back, he continued to play really well. 25.3 points per game, 5 boards, 8 assists. As I mentioned last week, he's finally getting back to the free throw line again, which shows he's playing his own game the way he likes to.
Mm.
So I really think that he should have got in, and I don't think it was fair that he missed out.
Yeah, so the only reason I didn't mention Embiid is because I knew you would. He's on my extended list here, along with Leonard, who was added later to the pool, so that's fair enough.
Mm.
Shengun, obviously, I have him here. Harden is there as well. I just didn't really want to talk about him. I think we did enough talking about him last week come his trade deadline, but you brought him up as well, so I'm happy to bring him in. And as I mentioned, Michael Porter Jr., they were on my list of snubs, but I just felt mostly for the Spurs players. But back to Embiid for a second, like the season he's having when he's playing is as good as he's been for the Sixers. In my opinion, anyway, you're probably watching more of them than I am, but the difference he's making, as you just listed off there, when he's on the court and when he's not on the court, he's just the leader of the team. And even if he was picked and they're like, "Oh, you're not going to play," that's fine. But to completely leave him out just makes no sense to me. It's almost like they were like, "Oh, we can only have one Sixer. We have Maxi. Let's not even look at the rest of the roster. We just leave it there." And like VJ Edgecombe, I think he's in the Rising
He's in
Star
the
game.
Rising Stars.
Maybe,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe he's not. Maybe he's not an All Star, but he should have been close at the way he started the season. At least he's probably dropped off a small bit, but he's still absolute quality. And it's just like I don't even know why we're spending so much time talking about this because this whole thing is just gone in the bin. USA versus the world, and then you get to play another USA team in the final in a
Yeah.
three-legged thing.
Was it like
It's
Stars and Stripes or
madness.
something like the name
Yeah,
of the team
stars and
or something?
stripes. Yeah, it's
Marvel.
mental. And like, yeah, I don't know if it's like if the player is going to be as upset or not making it this year as it would have been years before, because it's just becoming nonsense and it's getting worse and worse as the years go by. And I don't know how they're ever going to fix it now. They've gone down the route of splitting up the USA versus the rest of the world. That's the way it's going to be going forward now. It's going to be like playing the Harlem Globetrotters. Like it's what it's going to end up being at some point. It'll be the USA versus the Harlem Globetrotters, and then the Stripes against Europe, and then the winner play off against each other. That's the way it's going. It's just
Yeah, it's just a
nonsense.
farce, really. And that leads us into the rest of the lineup. Like,
Oh
I just, I don't know, like some of this. Well, firstly, I'll say the slam dunk contest competitors. I don't think either of us want to talk about this, but Carter Bryant for the Spurs, he's a rookie. He was selected 14th overall. He hasn't really had much of a look in because their team is stacked. And
yeah,
then Jackson Hayes is in there as well. Like 7 seasons in the NBA, I don't know how he's been around that long. He's always been
yeah,
hopeless. He has a few good dunks, but I just feel like he's the type of guy that'll just do something ridiculous. And this Keyshawn Johnson from the Heat, so another forward. He's in the G League at the moment. Like, don't know a thing about that guy. And then Jace Richardson, another rookie for Orlando. Yeah, just because his father won the slam dunk championship
yeah.
twice, I don't think that's a good enough reason to have him in. No Mac McClung this year, who won it the last 3 years in
That's
a
so
row.
disappointing. I'm genuinely
Yeah,
devastated. Like
heartbreaking.
that's the only reason I would have watched this.
Don't worry though. He got called up to the G League team in the Rising Stars game, even though he's 27 years of age. So we do get to see him. Just absolutely ridiculous. Like that's just a farce when I saw that he was called up to that. The more interesting one is the 3 point contest because first of all, Damian Lillard will be interesting to see because he hasn't played all year because he has a torn Achilles,
Yeah,
but he's still going to do this. Devin Booker's been shooting really badly from three this year, but he's a big
yeah.
name. I really like Con Canuple being involved. He's been lights out. Tyrese Maxey is obviously the highlight for me. First time he's been in it. A Sixer. Then Jamal Murray, Donovan Mitchell, Bobby Portis. God help us, like he's a good 3 point shooter, but yeah. And then Norm Powell is trying his hand at it again. But Tyler Hero won it last year, and Damian Lillard won it the year before. So let's see what he can do on one leg this time around. As he's kind of, I think he's like halfway through his Achilles recovery.
Yeah, like this is the kind of weekend where I'm just going to forget basketball exists, and we'll just come back next week, and probably won't even talk about it. We look ahead to something instead of going back looking at this.
Yeah,
There's like, except for you getting Maxi there, there's nothing here that kind of jumps out and saying screams excitement in any point of it. Even the All Star game, there's a couple of rockets there, and I'd love to see Shengun, but he's probably going to get like 4 minutes. So like I'm not staying up till 3 o'clock in the morning to watch 4 minutes of Shingun. So yeah, I just can't wait for this to be over and get back to the actual proper basketball and get the fantasy back going now that I'm almost in the top four.
yeah, yeah. Playoffs coming in like 4 weeks, so interesting time for fantasy basketball. After the NFL kind of ended, but yeah, the only thing I'm gonna watch is the 3 point contest just to see Maxi. And again, if it's on really late, I don't think it's too late, but if it drags on, I'm not staying up for it. I'll just watch it the next day.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think that's it on the NBA. We want the real basketball back and not this weekend of whatever is gonna go on, whatever nonsense.
nonsense.
But we'll move into some Premier League chat. So performance of the weekend, we're going with Man City having beaten Liverpool because it's such a big win and it keeps the title race interesting, especially after they then went and battered Fulham in the first half on Wednesday night. But overall, we want to talk about it because it was a really good game and an interesting game. Shout out now to my barber Derek. He's a Liverpool fan. I told him I'd bring up his point of view on the podcast because he was at the game. And he said it was really enjoyable, and he said it like really annoyed him afterwards going online to see a lot of like the Liverpool fan pages like giving out so much, especially that Irish guy. I can't remember what his name is, the bald guy.
Craig, yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah,
Anfield
Craig.
agenda.
I think he said yeah, he was like super annoyed by seeing him like losing the mind after the game, and he said he was close to like replying to it, being like, "Here, like you haven't a clue. Like at least enjoy the fact that." His whole point of view is like the fact that Liverpool won the league last year, like that's massive, and it was such an enjoyable season. And now this year, it's not going exactly to plan, but at least there's some kind of improvement because he was at the last game he went to was the PSV one where Liverpool got battered, and he
Good.
was just like coming out of that game, it was so deflating, and like just to see the level of performance wasn't there, but in this game it was, and like at least they looked very competitive for the majority of the game. Now it's not good the way it ended. That's another issue. I think the way Liverpool end games is something they need to work on. But at least the positives were there. And that was his take on it. So I said I'd bring that to you since obviously you're a Liverpool fan as well.
Yeah, two things on that. First of all, it's the way they start and end games. So again, for the first 20 minutes, they were so comfortably second best in this game. City were all over them, and I really thought City were going to do what they did to the Etihad, but then Liverpool came back into it. Second of all, I am sick to death of coming on here every week and talking about teams playing against Liverpool and having the performance of the weekend. I'm just like, we've had Bournemouth, we've had Villa, we've had Fulham, we nearly had the whole league at this point talking against Liverpool. I have the stats here in front of me, and it's wild how similar they are the whole way down. So shots, I'm just going to go Liverpool first, City second, obviously. So shots 15 to 16, on target 5 to 7. Possession was 46-54. Passes 340 to 420. Passing accuracy 84 to 83. Fouls 12-16. Yellow cards 2-4. Offside 6-2, and corners 5-4. Everything across the board was nearly a 50-50 split. And it literally came down to the lapse of the gods at the very, very end with the penalty. I know by the rules it's a penalty, but it's one of those that I really hate the fact it's a penalty, because all he's done is gotten to the ball to kick it out of play and gone over the keeper. And I know it's been like that for years, and I'm not complaining about the penalty. I know it's a penalty, but it doesn't mean I have to like it. And I hate it when, obviously, I don't hate it when it goes against, sorry, it goes for Liverpool, but it's just one of those that shouldn't be going for any team unless you control the ball, keep it in play, and they're going around the keeper, and the keeper takes you out, then a penalty, fair enough. Not when these lads are running behind, kicking the ball into Rose Ed and going over the keeper and getting a penalty. I don't understand it, but yeah, it was a really good game. It was all City in the first half, nearly all Liverpool for the first 30, 35 minutes of the second half. And if you wanted to spend the rest of the podcast talking about that free kick, I'm more than happy to do so, because
Yeah,
what a strike! You just it's mental. Like
I
it's
said
better than his
I
one
said
against
to you
Arsenal.
after that, like what, like the it was
Yeah,
a
the wall.
joke putting two men in the wall for that. Like obviously you're never going to expect that, but I feel like that was like almost a disrespect to the fact that Soboslai can do that. And then doing that, he's just going to be like, well, I'm going to just bang it like the side of that wall. So, and City
It
paid
was
for it
mad.
like with one of the best goals of the season.
Yeah, it's some strike, and it was almost like, I dare you to try and put this outside the 2-man wall and into the the far corner, because Donnarumma was almost like, you're not going to be able to do it. You're not going to come my side. The wall is going to stop you going the other side. And the way he hits it is just unbelievable. The arc he gets on it and in off the inside the post. Better than his Arsenal free kick. I think that's 4 free kicks he scored this season now, which is pretty disgusting as well. You can't be doing that. That's James Ward-Prowse levels of free kick taken now at this stage. Um,
Yeah, it's
Liverpool are really struggling to put 90 minutes together. Except now they were good last night. I think they put close to 90 minutes together last night, but even the first 10 or 15 there, it was a very even split. But after that, Liverpool kind of took over. Yeah, just the first 20 minutes and the last 10 minutes again are just, it's what's costing Liverpool in so many games this season. And even games they start well, they can see goals and then they fall off a cliff. And that's the reason that they are struggling to get into top four, top five at the moment.
yeah. I think you're right in the fact of the slow start as well. But I think finishing so poorly is a bigger issue because you
Yeah.
can make up for that in the middle of the game, like they did against City. Like you did go through the stats there. I know there was a penalty, so that sways the XG, but that was the thing that was overpowering in City's favor. It was
Mm.
2.75 to 1 in Opta. Now that's not the whole story, but I think City were dominant early and they had a lot of good chances that they probably should have scored, or a lot of good
Holland.
positional yeah, and Haaland should have scored early. And then Liverpool really dominated the second half, and I thought they should have scored more goals. And then the one they do get is a wonder goal. So it was like a lot of squandered chances for both teams. And then City just kind of got came out of nowhere. And even last night, I thought Sunderland, like against Liverpool, Liverpool dominated them. And then as soon as you went 1-0 up, all the Liverpool players started panicking, like and retreating back into the box. And there was a couple of occasions there where Sunderland, obviously, they weren't the most exciting team to watch last night, just lumping it into the box at times. But there's a few times there where the ball can just bounce around and go in. And then you're like, why did we do this? Why did we sit back again? So I think that's an issue. The first thing that need to be looked at. And I was looking at the pass maps, and Liverpool played a lot down the right hand side. So 58% of passes that came from Allison went to the right side of defenders versus the left, and the best like partnership for passing, almost 10% of Liverpool's passes between starters was between Canada and Soboslai. So they were clearly going down that right. I thought Soboslai was brilliant. He solved a lot of the issues I've pointed out recently in Liverpool's fullbacks. I know he's not a fullback, but he did a great job there and not being out of position, which is hilarious given that, as I said, he's not a fullback. He was better positionally than anyone Liverpool have played there this season. So I think a lot of the plan was clearly to go to him, feed into Salah. Um, I don't know, like that obviously didn't lead to a goal, but I think that's probably your best bet considering how Gakpo has played at times this season. But then it does become one dimensional. And I think we've said a lot about Liverpool, but City did get the win, and I really hate Bernardo Silva, but he was so good. He was
Yeah, he was brilliant.
brilliant. Like won the penalty. I know, like you said, the way it goes is one of them ones. Like United gave away a penalty to Fulham a few weeks ago where Jimenez took the shot, then he got fouled. The shot had
Yeah.
already got off. That doesn't make sense. You had your shot. That used to
Mm.
be a rule that wasn't a penalty, but now it is. It's a similar one. And another player is Gahey. He's so important to what City do. He kind of has that John Stones role now. And if you I looked at the pass map as I said, and a lot of it went to Gahey, and then he fed either Aït-Nouri, Rodri, or Bernardo Silva, the most technical players that City have, and they just let it on from there. So I think signing him was absolutely massive, and obviously Bernardo Silva as well was a key part of this for City to keep the title race alive.
Yeah, especially in the first half, Guay and City were absolutely brilliant. I thought they were bossing it. There was no getting past Guay. No matter who it was a shot or crosses, whatever it was, he was getting in the way, blocking them, celebrating like he'd scored a goal, which actually drives me insane. When you put the ball out for a corner, just get set for the corner. There's no need to be hugging your goalkeeper because you put a block in. But City were really, really good until Liverpool actually started putting a bit of pressure on them. City kind of retreated back a small bit then, and then when Liverpool scored, they did the same and just invited City on them. Then after that, but City, it's Liverpool's bench has been such an issue again because Slot doesn't trust the subs. So they were 1-0 up. Everyone was clearly tired, and he doesn't bring on anyone. Like he should have been bringing on Robertson for Kirkis. Then, even if you think Kirkis is better at the moment, you have fresh players on the bench. You need to start using them a bit more and a bit better because you can't just expect the same lads to go for 90 minutes over and over and over again. It's probably why there's so many injuries because he doesn't trust the lads he has in the backup. But anyway, enough about Liverpool. I need to talk about Man City, unfortunately. Bernardo Silva was immense. I'm like you, I absolutely despise him as well, but gets up for the goal. Well, Haaland gets up for the goal, but Silva puts it away, and he was just running the show from the middle of the park the whole game through. I thought he was excellent. He was deservedly man of the match. Arguably could have been sent off at the end for that really, really high one on Wirtz, but he doesn't really catch him. He
No, he
gets when
doesn't
he
catch him, but if
Wirtz is
he
only
does, he's
past
off.
him. Yeah, he's gone. So he's lucky there, but he was probably man of the match. I just cannot stand him. He's such a little rat. He's horrible. He's one of those. Joe, what? He's Portuguese as well. He's very like Bruno. You love him when he's on your team. You hate him when you're watching him
Yeah,
from
but
the
Bernardo
sidelines for another
Silva,
team.
I feel like Bruno does a lot of complaining, but Bernardo Silva does a lot of dirty things, like really dirty,
Yeah, he does.
and
Yeah,
that's what annoys
like that
me.
one on Wirtz. But
Yeah,
yeah, I
so
thought City were deserved winners. I sorry, yeah, they probably were deserved winners on the balance of the whole 90 minutes. But Liverpool just need to keep going now. There, that was a massive win for Liverpool last night. Gets them 2 points behind Chelsea, I think it is, heading into next week and playing Forest. So we'll talk about Forest in a second. But both of those teams need the 3 points so badly.
new manager bounce, but I think
Mm.
I think it's the main problem City have is not being able to play in both halves. Like they were unbelievably good in the first half against Spurs, and they were 2-0 up, and they looked like they could have been like 5 or 6-0 by the end, and then they just fall to pieces with one small tactical change. And then against Liverpool, brilliant first half, dominant, should have been 1 or 2-0 up, and then just completely different team second half when Liverpool changed the way they played a little bit, which is unlike Pep teams to be so flustered by minor changes. obviously last night against Fulham was not the same thing because you're 3-0 up at halftime, so you do sit
Yeah.
back. But the other two games are really important. So I think that's something they'll need to work on. But as we go into Arsenal and Brentford tonight, obviously you will know the score of that when you're listening to it because it's Thursday night as we're recording Thursday evening. But at the moment, City have applied the most pressure they can. They're only 3 points behind Arsenal. Even if Arsenal do win, which is not a given against this Brentford team, it's still only 6 points and anything can happen down the stretch. So at least City are keeping the title race alive. And
And yeah,
that's
and
at least something
Arsenal
that's
still have to go to the Etihad as well.
yeah, so that's going to be major. So we'll be looking forward to that one. But you mentioned we'll talk about Forest. Um, in general here, what are Norton? Oh God, if I could get the words out, Nottingham. What are Nottingham Forest playing? Like it's just ridiculous. Like they're moving on to their fourth manager now. Like the Nuno issue was a very obviously he wasn't there for long, and they got rid of him for ridiculous reasons, and it wasn't actually like anything to do with football. Then they brought in Ange, which was a disaster class, and then he was having his great chats on the overlap or whatever that thing is called with Gary Neville about Thomas Frank leaving. I didn't even listen to that because I didn't want to hear the victory laps because Ange is an awful manager. Um, then you move on to Sean Dyche, who wasn't even doing that bad of a job. 6 wins, 4 draws, 8 losses. I know 8 losses is a lot, but 6 wins and 4 draws for this Forest team is a lot better than the other lads were doing because they were one
Mm.
win, 2 draws, and 5 losses between the others. They're 17, 3 points above West Ham. Win, draw, loss, draw. Not the best in the world, but like they're still keeping afloat. They got a draw against Arsenal recently. They beat West Ham recently. Like I don't know what more he could have done to keep this. And now you're going for Vitor Pereira, who managed to turn Wolves around massively last season, but then fell apart with them this season. So is that the right thing to do? I don't know. Like Dyche seems like the best option here.
Yeah, so first of all, on Ange, if he had waited until this morning to do the overlap, we could have talked about the two managers that had replaced him at two different clubs instead of just having to talk about Frank for half an hour. So that's hilarious. I am shocked by the Dyche one. Like, Dyche isn't on the pitch, so Dyche can't put the ball in the net when a team is having 35 shots. Like that's it's not on Dyche to put the ball in the net. It's on your big players who are out there. All the attacking talent you have in the world, you've 35 shots. One of them has to go in. It's not Sean Dyche's fault that the lads can't finish when they're out there. I think it's mad. He's obviously Mr. Marinakis, my apologies, has obviously gone and he's spoken to Prayer and said, look, I had you at Olympiacos. You did a great job for me there. You won X and Y. Do you want to come into Forest? Yeah, I'll do it. Grand, Sean, you're gone. That's obviously how it went. It was 12:30 last night and he sacked him. He was probably speaking to Vito Prayer for the last week. Everything was agreed and wrapped up by 10 o'clock this morning. Like, you're not hung to your manager. Like, your manager's not coming in for an interview at 4 a.m. So obviously this was done before Dyche was sacked. So obviously he was like, I want Pereira. How do I get him? Oh, he's coming. Brilliant. Sean, you're out the door. I'd say even if he had won yesterday, he might have been gone anyway because this looks like a Mr. Marinakis move written all over it where he just doesn't know what else to do. Getting a bit bored, trying to windows closed. He can't do anything. Let's change the manager again.
Yeah, you have
The
to add
Thomas
an
Frank one
allegedly to
makes,
the end of all of that just in case,
oh,
since it's
apologies. Yeah,
shocking.
allegedly. The Thomas Frank one makes perfect sense. Long overdue. The Sean Dyche one makes absolutely no sense. And we spoke last week about can West Ham back for or can West Ham catch Forest. I think it's just become a hell of a lot more likely now that West Ham will catch Forest. And imagine Forest win the Europa League. We have a championship team in the Champions League next year.
That would be unbelievably good. Did Wigan do that one time when they won the FA Cup? Did they get relegated that year?
They got to but that was the the UEFA
The
Cup and
the
they
UEFA
lost in the
Cup, yeah.
qualifiers. Yeah,
Okay.
they
Oh,
lost
okay.
in
So they
the
didn't get in.
qualifiers.
That
No,
would have been mad.
I don't think so anyway.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. That would have been a bigger thing at the time. But yeah, I agree that it is easier for West Ham to catch them now, especially given probably the best man out of anyone I trust around this is Nuno, and West Ham have
Yeah.
him. Like United played them the other night, and I was happy with a point, even though United won their last four. Like Nuno had West Ham set up. He had them set up exactly how Forest beat United. Like just frustrate them, pack the box, and United were passing it around, not putting the ball into the box enough. When they actually brought Sesko on, put the ball in the box, they scored. Like they should have done that earlier. But I think he knew exactly what he needed to do, pack it out. United couldn't figure it out, and then hit them on the counter attack like he did with Alanga when Forest played against United and beat them 1-0 too, and it almost worked again. So credit to him, he's a great manager, and he has West Ham finally, despite a big lack of talent really there, looking like they might have a chance to stay up. Now Leeds are going quite well at the moment, and I
Mm.
think it looks like it could be between Spurs, Forest, and West Ham at this stage. And like you said, Frank going long overdue. 7 wins, 8 draws, 11 losses in the Premier League. 16th, just 5 points above West Ham. I don't know if they stick with Johnny Heitinga, is that going to be something that keeps you up? That would literally make me think that they're going down. Like, yes, he was assistant to Slot. Yes, he was assistant to David Moyes. Those are both assistant roles. He was an interim at Ajax and he did an okay job in a bad situation. But then when he went back to Ajax as a full time manager, he was awful and they sacked him within
Made
a
a
few
mess of
months.
it. Yeah.
So, like, I would definitely not be going for him. And I think he's after edging ahead of Deserby as the favourite tonight, in the last few hours. So, I don't know. Deserby is the clear choice here. If they got him in, I would say okay that they have some sort of a chance of getting maybe up to even like 13th. But with Heitinga, I would say it's going to be nip and tuck between them, West Ham and Forest. Especially with Pereira in now, like you said, I don't think it doesn't definitely doesn't strike confidence in me in Forest doing well or Spurs with Heitinga.
Yeah, and Spurs have no easy games coming either. So they've Arsenal at the weekend at home. They're absolutely dreadful at home. Away to Fulham, another London derby. Fulham don't really like them. Fulham are me all up
Fulham
for
are
it.
great at home.
Palace at home. Sorry?
Fulham are great at home as well.
Yeah, Fulham are, yeah, exactly. Then they're playing Palace. Then they're playing Liverpool away. And then they're playing Forest. We could, like, this is not even joking. That could actually be the biggest 6 pointer of the season if Spurs' results go badly in the next five and Forest are doing what they're doing. And then you've Sunderland away, Brighton at home, and then Wolves, obviously, I'll stop it there because there's not a single easy match in the league for Spurs with the way things are going. And their last two are horrific as well. They're away to Chelsea and at home to Everton are their last two games. If they're actually fighting to stay up, then that's a really, really bad way to end any sort of season. And the fact they kept Thomas Frank in this job for so long is the reason they're in this position. He probably should have been sacked 2 months ago. Uh, yeah,
And he
like
probably would have been if they
I said,
didn't at least do something in the Champions League the way they have been.
yeah,
But like we said, we spoke about this like 2 weeks ago, and we
yeah,
both
there's no
said
need
he
to
wouldn't
go over old
last.
ground again. But
Yeah, he said he wouldn't last till the end of February. We both agreed on that. But
yeah,
the only reason he's in this position is because of Champions League form. But again, I don't see them doing anything in the next round of that. So that's not enough. Like,
yeah, he hasn't done enough all season. I know towards the start of the season they were second there. They were pushed in within 3 points at first, and then the wheels fell off the way it falls off under every single Spurs manager of late. Like it never ever works out for anyone in there, whatever the issues with that club. But like even under Nuno, they won six in a row to start the season. He won manager of the month, then got sacked a month later. Like it's kind of the players will do it for a certain amount of time. And there's players in there who are quality. The likes of Xavi Siemens is clearly a really, really good player.
yeah.
But why isn't he doing it? Solanke, I wouldn't say he's great, but he's a good finisher. Another man who it just isn't doing it. And they're littered all over the place. Romero is a shambles. Really, really good player, but cannot stay on the pitch. He's had two red cards now, and the key incident match panel, whatever they're called, said he should have been sent off in both games against Brentford as well. So he should have four red cards this season. Like, how can you trust him as a captain? You can't. And it's not just on the players, then you have Thomas Frank. I'll never get over him drinking from the Arsenal Cup. It's only a cup, but wow. So when things are bad enough for you, like with the way things are going as Spurs, don't go and drink from an Arsenal Cup. It's just that the lack of hindsight or foresight, whichever one, I don't know, but it's just the fact he lasted that long. It gives hope to me that I might become a football manager someday.
Yeah, you just have to get the foot in the door at this point, and then you're
Yeah,
sorted. You should just start being a set piece coach, and then you'll get yourself in there since you love set pieces so
yeah.
much. But
I'll have a word with my friend Keith Andrews after this.
yeah, maybe Thomas Frank will have to take up that set piece role now at this point. But I do think that you're right. The Spurs is like a place that sucks the life out of every manager and player that goes there. And when your captain is doing ridiculous things the way Romero does, it's not a good look for the rest of the dressing room at all. And I think both teams had issues with the ability of their forwards. Like you said, Solanke, but he looked good when he has played. He has been injured, but again, he can never always stay on the pitch or always be consistent
Yeah,
when he plays. And then Chris Wood has been injured, and Forrest don't have any other striker. So that's down to recruitment as well, and it's also down to utilizing the talent you have. So it's a lot of factors, but yeah, I think it's actually an interesting relegation battle as well. So that's a bonus because some seasons it seems
yeah.
like it's almost over at this point.
There are two teams gone, so there is three teams for one spot now, and that's always an interesting battle when it comes down to. It's not just the three teams are done and dusted like they were last season. At least there's actually something to watch down there this season.
Yeah, no, 100% I agree. And then Burnley getting a shock win against Palace, just keeping their
That was
fans
mad.
alive when they should just kill them off and let them forget about it.
Absolutely
But
mad what happened at the end of that first half.
yeah, crazy comeback. But we'll move into Gone Chance then. I know we've
Mhm.
gotten a few new listeners recently, so first of all, thank you for listening to us. And a lot of the new listeners we've had, you can see in our statistics that a lot of them aren't subscribed to the podcast. So if you could subscribe, just follow it on Spotify or whatever, or subscribe on YouTube. And if you have a minute to leave a 5-star review, if you are enjoying it, then that would be greatly appreciated too. But the rules to this one are we have a game, Gone Chance, basically means no chance in Irish. And we pick three underdogs every week. So the way we do it is in football and in the NFL, we pick a team that is playing against another team that is odds on favourites. So let's say Arsenal are playing um, Wolves this weekend, and Arsenal are 1-5 on, and Wolves are 3-1. Like we can pick Wolves then to win. So those are the parameters there. And then in the NBA, we pick games for the weekend, and they don't have the odds out on time. So what we do is a team has to be 5 wins back from the team that's they're playing against. So if the Magic are 38 and 31 and they're playing against the Jazz who are 17 and 30, then they're more than 5 wins behind them. So that's perfect. You can pick the Jazz to win that game. Now, that's all explained. Obviously, the NFL is done, so we won't have those. We used to pick one from each sport. Now it's going to be two from soccer and one from the NBA. Another caveat, it's All-Star weekend in the NBA, so we only have soccer this weekend. No Premier League, all FA Cup, a bit of a mad mishmash, but those are the rules. Currently, I'm 25 points to 22 on the season for Shane. You get 1 point for each one predicted correctly, and if you predict all three correct, you get 5 points. So last weekend I had Sunderland to beat Arsenal. That was a loss. The Pacers to beat the Bucks. That was also a loss, and then I had the Rockets to beat the Thunder, which was a win. You also had the Rockets to beat the Thunder, so that was a win for you.
Mhm.
And then you had Everton to beat Fulham, which was a win, along with the Jazz to beat the Magic, which was a loss. So you had 2 points last week. You cut the lead.
Very close to a
Yeah,
three to a 5 pointer.
and that would have been, as we said earlier, if the Jazz didn't bench all their players in the fourth
Yeah.
quarter, it would have been a 5 pointer. But yeah, you're 3 points behind me. So what have you got for us this week as your three picks in the FA Cup?
So it was a really tough one. So I'm going with Salford at 60. No, I'm only joking. I'm absolutely not going with Salford to beat Man City.
They've got the all white
Um,
kits
I've
ready.
gone. Yeah, imagine it comes in now. I'll be fuming. But the first one I've gone with Wrexham at 12-5 to beat Ipswich, who are evens. So Wrexham are at home and are somehow underdogs when they're playing at home. After what they did to Forest, you never know. And this was actually a lot harder to pick than I'd expected anyway. So I just thought Wrexham were a great price. I've gone with Stoke 16-5 to beat Fulham, who are 8-11. Again, Stoke at home. Fulham are kind of looking at the European places now with the way things are going from if they can pick up another couple of results. I don't know how high on the list of priorities the FA Cup will be. I don't think they'll think they can win it, but like I don't know why teams don't do what Palace did and just go all out. But I could see Fulham resting a few here. And finally, after the midweek madness between Leicester and Southampton during the week, where Southampton won at the very last kick of the game, I've gone with Leicester at 3-1 to get their revenge. Southampton are 3-4. So Leicester to beat Southampton, Stoke to beat Fulham, and Wrexham to beat Ipswich.
Okay, yeah, I've got one of the same. I've also gone with Leicester. I think the price for Leicester, even though they're away, is a bit
Mad.
mad. Like to be up like 3-1, where I saw was just slightly above 3-1, and then Southampton are 8-11 on. Like, yeah, that's a bit interesting. I was looking at the Stoke one, but they've just been so bad recently that I couldn't get behind
Yeah,
them. But again, you could be right. Fulham might rest everybody. So instead, I've gone for Brighton to beat Liverpool away. Now, I just think that Liverpool are playing in so many competitions that it could be a similar thing where they play young players. Like they've done it in recent years where they played like so many young players, and they're played like a lot in the cups. They're playing in the Champions League still. They're in the Premier League hunting for the top four. So I think with a kind of thin squad, that could be a tactic that they lose. Brighton haven't been good recently, so this is I'm basically banking on Liverpool playing all the young lads to get this one over the line. And then my last one, I've gone with Grimsby. Why not? Grimsby to beat Wolves. Grimsby are unbeaten in their last five. Wolves are useless. Grimsby already did United over this season in Grimsby, so why can't they do Wolves over? Wolves 9-20, Grimsby 5-1. It's the biggest outsider, and the three of us. But I said, hey, let's go for it. A bit something a bit mad this week because it was hard enough to pick these ones.
yeah, I did look at that one as well, and it was just like, there's no way they're beating two Premier League teams in the one season, even if both teams, when they played them, were absolutely garbage. You never know, though. We'll see.
Yeah, and at the time that Grimsby beat United, they were like hovering barely above their relegation spots, and now they're nearly in playoffs. So they've
Yeah,
definitely used that as a boost for themselves. But let's move into the NFL then. Obviously, we had the biggest game of the season go down. The Super Bowl pretty much went how we expected it to go, and how a lot of sports media expected it to go. We previewed it last week. I gave my prediction for the score. I said Seahawks 31, Patriots 14. Pretty close. Seahawks were 29, Patriots 13. So I was only a few points off with that one. And I think the Seahawks dominated really from start to finish. The Patriots never looked like doing anything. Their only tactic to me seemed like they were jumping in front of some of Darnold's throws really early to try and get a big pick. And then that was a risk because JSN nearly housed one if Darnold didn't have pressure on him early on, and that would have set the tone there fairly quickly. But that was clearly their tactic to just go after him, his passes early, try get a big interception or something off him. And after that, it looked like they didn't really know what to do once Kenneth Walker got going. He had a massive game, 135 yards on 27 carries, 26 yards through the air. He's the first running back MVP since 1998, when Terrell Davis grabbed it. So K9 getting the MVP, it was well deserved, and a really great performance all over the pitch, special teams, defensively, everything for the Seahawks.
yeah. This game was all about defenses. I actually thought the Patriots' defense was really good to a point as well. The couple of passes that were broken up by Gonzalez was absolutely superb for the Patriots. But what the Seattle defense did was just made Drake May's life a living nightmare. 6 sacks, 2 interceptions. Like, his stats aren't even that bad. He had 295 yards, 2 touchdowns. But when you're watching the game, it's one of those where these stats did not pass the eye test. It was a 79.1 passer rating. It was actually higher than Sam Darnold, who was
Yeah.
74.7, but it's like the 6 sacks or the killer. His offensive line were all over the place. Will Campbell had an absolute nightmare that he might never see a football pitch again with how with what he was doing the other
Ah,
night.
bit hard.
You 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 put it to me at one point that Drake May is like, he was still a child out there. And it was very, very clear. And I think Will Campbell is another one who was still a child out there as well. He was not ready for this stage. And I know the Patriots were years ahead of schedule, but when you do get to this game, you kind of want everyone to show up and do it. And the only ones that showed up were really Ernest Jones, 10 tackles, Witherspoon, 4 tackles, a sack, Byron Murphy, 2 sacks, Nawusu, the interception and the touchdown. Seattle just, their defense just came to play. And when it wasn't really going on the offense, their defense just kept getting the Patriots off the pitch over and over and over and over and over again. Outside of K9, then I thought AJ Barner was the only one who was really noticeable for the Seahawks offense. I thought neither offense had a really good game, and that showed on the scoreboard as well.
Yeah, I thought it was a poor offensive performance. That's why Darnold really didn't get a consideration for MVP. I think if it didn't go
Yeah,
to Kenneth Walker, it would have probably went on the defensive side. probably to Hall, or I thought Witherspoon was absolutely exceptional. And he said after the game that McDonald had kind of seen a tell from their offensive linemen, which is
Yeah,
not a good thing to be seeing that. That's obviously coming from Campbell, that they knew when to attack him and when to get past him. And he could have had two sacks on May. He only had one. I think Drake May like taking six sacks in that game, a fumble. They ruled the second as an interception. You know, like you said, for him to have a better passer rating than Darnold shows that sometimes stats are completely pointless because like he was awful in this game, so bad, and he missed so many times. There was people open and he just didn't see them. It was like he was the one seeing ghosts out there, and that was something that people had put on Darnold. Now he had a great regular season, but this playoffs is probably the worst I've ever watched a quarterback in the playoffs. Like like no exaggeration, for someone to make it this far, he was so bad. He has the worst statistical playoff run as well, so the stats back this up. Minus 29.2 expected points added. So he's taken nearly 30 points off the team in expectation this season. It's the worst ever on a quarterback this century that's played three games. So, you know, it's just not something the defense could outdo for him. Like the defense
no,
couldn't carry him like he had in other games. And I know I said earlier like their only thing they had early was to jump passes and try and catch them. That wasn't to say that the defense didn't play great. The defense was brilliant. I just meant that that seemed like their only game plan to winning the game, because they wanted to like house a mistake by Darnold rather than actually trusting on Drake May to do things and just locking it down. And Christian Gonzalez, if they had won, he would have had to get the MVP. Like five targets, he only allowed one catch, 16 yards, and three pass breakups. Like he's going to get absolutely paid this offseason. He's only
yeah,
cost them 2 million this season with his salary. He's still on his rookie contract. They have a player option, 17.5 million, or a club option, should I say? So they have the option to extend that, but they'll either extend that and then work out a deal, or they'll work out a deal before that because he's going to get some amount of money as well. So I think I felt sorry for guys like him who had a great game and really were let down by the offense so massively. Like we expected at least Stefan Diggs to try and show up a little bit, and he only had 37 yards. He seemed to be doing a whole lot of complaining on the sideline.
mm,
I don't know whether that was motivational or what it was, but it seemed like a bad persona to have on your sideline, and obviously he is not a good human being for some of the stuff that he's done. And then on the other side, you have Cooper Cup playing for the Seahawks, six catches, 61 yards, doing exactly what needs to be done, and a veteran who does nothing but give positivity to the team. So that's a difference in these two, the way the team has been built. And like you said, the Patriots are way ahead. They shouldn't have been here this early. But again, like you said, when you get here, you want to give it all you can, and it's not a given
want to
that you're
show
going to
up.
get back. Just ask Dan Marino, like youngest quarterback to
Yeah,
ever make it to the Super Bowl, never made it again.
never got back again. Yeah, but even like the one that kind of that was the biggest shock to me was like so we're going to take out his receptions here for a second. So Ramondre Stevenson had 5 receptions of 40 yards, very good, well done. But on the ground, himself and Henderson were shocking. Stevenson 7 carries, 23 yards. Trevian Henderson 6 yards for 6 carries for 19 yards. These are two lads who've been breaking tackles all year, and all of a sudden it comes to the biggest stage. And fair enough, the Seattle defense was absolutely unbelievable. But do you think when you're kind of they did give up on it eventually, which I said they should in the message before K9 ripped off his first big massive run, and it made me look like I was talking about him. But the Patriots should have given up on the run game a lot quicker than they did because it clearly wasn't working. But then going to the sky wasn't working either. There was nothing working for them. They couldn't get a first down. I think at one point they couldn't get past the halfway line. It just kept having to be punted away, and they were lucky their punter was excellent. Can we talk about Seattle's punter actually? His boot is
So
absolutely
good.
outrageous. He's insane. But like all the guys on the offense who would want to step up, Diggs, Henderson, Stevenson, they didn't. Matt Collins did what he could, 4 receptions, 78 yards and a touchdown. He can't really do much more than that. Pop Douglas, 5 for 45 as well. But the three lads over the course of the year, you've been kind of relying on the two running backs and Stephon Diggs, just nowhere to be
Yeah.
seen. And obviously Drake May was pretty much nowhere to be seen either, unfortunately for him. But I do think this will make him a better quarterback. But as you said, like there's no guarantee you ever get back there again. It's like there's 32 teams going for it every year. that these are the longest odds of any team to ever get here. So it could be another 5 or 6 years for the Patriots to get back here again. The Jets might get there before the Patriots. Who knows?
Well, that's a bit mad now, to be fair, but we'll let you have it given how bad the Patriots played and you had to suffer watching them get back there. So we'll let you have this moment. I'm sure it was a nice one to see them lose. But I think, again, on the Patriots, to kind of come back off what you said there, like they could build like a really nice roster now around May, but at the same time, other teams are going to be ready next season. Like Mahomes is going to have a full off season. Josh Allen has a new situation with his head coach, as does Lamar Jackson. Joe Burrow will be hoping to have a fully healthy season. Trevor Lawrence looks like somebody who's ready to lead a team far. CJ Stroud may
Mm,
learn from what he did, and they have an amazing defense. These are all like possibilities. Now, three of those might not happen, but then the Patriots have the easiest schedule in the league, and the Broncos had the second easiest. And we saw those two playing the AFC Championship game. It was an awful game. They both got there because of scheduling. And next year they both have to play a first place schedule, so they have to play against other teams that were one seeds. So it's not going to be a walk in the park anymore. And Drake
mm.
May is going to have to face defenses that are at a high level way more often, and he can't just kind of fall by the wayside like he did. I know it's the biggest game; he will learn from this, but it's something that it will bother Patriots fans into the offseason having watched that. Like in the playoffs, they had 53 drives. On those drives, they averaged 1.13 points per drive. To put that into context, the Browns, who went 0-16 in 2017, averaged 1.22 points per drive that season. They had a better offense in their own 16 season than the playoff Patriots did. So that needs to be assessed and that needs to be fixed very, very quickly, or else they're not going to sniff this game for a long time.
Mm. I didn't know it was that bad. Wow. Obviously, I knew that Drake May had struggled throughout, and there was mitigation for it until this game. So you had that the weather in Denver was insane. The
Yeah, it
way
was a
that
bit
snow
of
came down was absolutely insane. But there was no bad weather. At the Super Bowl, it looked like a really, really nice day. Everyone was having a great time in the crowds. There was absolutely no mitigation for him to come out here and not be able to find passes. And then, like, one of the interceptions was a pure panic throw, and there was no need to panic because they just scored the touchdown. They kept out Seattle, like, kept them to three. Maybe I can't remember 100%. And he tries one beforehand, just goes over the head of Mac Hollins, and his next one, it was never going to be intercepted. Sorry, it was never going to be completed. It was always going to be intercepted. Like, it was just
There's
one
no
of
one in
those
the
mad
vicinity.
throws it's one of those ones you throw up if you're 6 points down and it's a Hail Mary. They still had 3 or 4 or 5 minutes left, and he throws this up into the middle of three Seahawks, and he's just there was no one there within an arse's roar of getting it to bring it down. So it was just mental.
I like it.
Sorry, I don't know where
It's
that came from.
I was like, how do I respond to this and not laugh when I'm trying to say something? But it was like Chris Collinsworth was like similar to like completely stumped, and he was like pretty much like milliseconds away from being like this guy is like useless because he was like what is he doing here? He was like laughing doing that Chris Collinsworth laugh that he does when he's like glazing Patrick Mahomes every single week. But like
I'm pretty
he's
sure his
like
exact words were, I have nothing for you. I think that's exactly what he said. I have nothing for you on that. I was like, yeah,
he didn't
me
know
either,
what to
but
say. Like
yeah.
he like what was the throw? Like I don't know what it was, but yeah. Look, I think a lot to learn and a lot to improve on. The Seahawks have a different conundrum now because they have so many good players. How are they going to be able to pay all these guys? We saw the Eagles. Obviously, I think the environment with the Eagles is really off, and they didn't manage the personalities that they had. So when they let guys go, there was cracks showing there when they didn't have the talent to overcome the bad attitudes that were there. But the Seahawks are a completely different beast. Like Schneider has built such a good team. He's the first GM in NFL history to reach multiple Super Bowls with the same organization while having a new coach and no players from the previous Super Bowl team. And now he's
Oof.
won with both. So that was something that Jordan Schultz put out there before they got there. So now he's won twice with two completely different teams, two different head coaches, two different eras. And this time it seems like the Legion of Boom era, they had Russell Wilson who got a bit too big for his boots. They had some guys who were kind of seen as bad eggs in the dressing room. But now they have nothing but guys who seem to back each other up, be on the same page,
Mm.
all fighting, working as hard as they can. Sam Darnold's on a really nice contract, so that might help with paying some other guys. It just seems different than before with the Seahawks, and it also seems different than coming off the Eagles win, where if you do lose some guys, I think he's a savvy enough guy to draft again great talent like he has done, like Eamon Wari this season was such a massive contributor, and he only just drafted him in the second round. Like what he's done drafting Gray Zabel in the first round, he knows how to draft and he knows how to build a good culture. So I would not be surprised at all if the Seahawks are back in the Super Bowl again next year and can do something that the Eagles did not manage to.
Yeah, I was just going to mention Darnold's contract. So it was a 3 year, $100.5 million contract, and everyone was looking at it
Amazing.
saying, what on earth are they doing giving him this much money? And look what he did at the Vikings, blah, blah, blah. I'm pretty sure I was one of them saying, I can't believe they're giving him 100 million after what he's after doing. But looking back now, it's pretty much a steal what they have him on. Um, I'm reading here, it's half of the open market, whatever that means. I don't know if that means if he went to market now, he'd get double it after winning a Super Bowl, maybe. But like it actually looks like a steal, like back to back 14 win seasons and a Super Bowl from a man that everyone thought was just going to drop out of the league the way that most Jets quarterbacks have done over the last couple of years. I'm not saying that to disparage him, Mountain, but that was just the way it was looking. He was bouncing around, bounced the Panthers, 49ers, then found a home in the Vikings by sheer luck because JJ McCarthy got injured and has ended up with the
Yeah.
Seahawks with the best receiver in the game. Cooper Cup is just he just seems like a really good guy, and he's your wide receiver too. You're in business there, and obviously Kenneth Walker, when he's fit and firing, does what he does in the Super Bowl. So it's like he's landed in the perfect spot for him at the perfect time for the Seahawks. And if the fact it's like guaranteed 100 million is unbelievable, and then go and win a Super Bowl, you're like, yeah, I imagine I was getting double that now, but that's not the way he'd be thinking. I presume he's just happy to be playing and happy to be a Super Bowl champion.
Yeah, he's 100% happy that they backed him and believed in him. Like, you saw straight away, he went to McDonald and said, like, thanks for believing in me. And
Yeah,
McDonald is a kind of reserved guy too, and so is Darnold. They're not like they're kind of held back. They're for want of a better word, they seem like kind of like nerds more than anything.
yeah,
And McDonald definitely seems like that, and not in a negative way. They just seem like they want to study the game of football and be the best they can be, and be the best teammate and the best coach. And yeah, like I think it was a perfect situation. They've got him on a really, really good contract. Like you highlighted it there. Like if he did go to open market now, he's getting at least 50 million, if not more. And like he's getting that Brock Purdy contract, like at least I think he
mm,
could be asking for it. And last season, if it didn't end the way it did, maybe the Vikings hold on to him, and maybe they're here because they have an amazing roster, but they didn't have the quarterback, and they have an amazing coach. So the Vikings will be kicking themselves
I'm
that
sure they're
they
not the
let him
only one
go.
though. Yeah, the likes of the Steelers must be kicking themselves as well that they didn't even look at him. They were all so set on Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Rodgers, and they just let him go. The Vikings are like, oh, JJ McCarthy's back. He's great. He's clearly not. Like that's just two teams off the top of my head that have made a massive mess up of this. And the Seahawks, to be honest, I was semi laughing at them. I was like, is this really who you're going for now when you're trying to push and do something after missing on the playoffs? But he's completely proved me wrong. But this whole season of the NFL has proved me wrong in so many ways. I know absolutely nothing about American football if this is the way the season's going to keep going. Just mental from start to finish.
Yeah, no, I think it was a mad season, hard to predict, hard to like give your thoughts at the start or at any point and have them be backed up by what you saw because
Yeah,
every weekend it was changing. But I think, yeah, I do think that some teams would be annoyed, but then you did need a really good situation around Darnold because he does have flaws. So we'll see how he gets on without Kubiak next year. They need to get in a guy who's gonna run a lot of RPOs and has a run heavy offense. So they need to look for that. I'm not sure what way they're gonna go, but it'll be interesting to see who they hire for that position now that he's
yeah,
gone as their OC. He's the new Raiders head coach with Mendoza going to be drafted there, so that's a great hire for them. But yeah, that's it on the Super Bowl. That's it on the NFL for the season. There's obviously so much goes on in the off season with the draft, with the combine coming up soon, and then we lead into free agency is coming up as well, and Oh, so much happening. We'll have plenty of stuff to chat about over the off season, but another season in the books, and I'm already looking forward to the next one because it absolutely
Yeah.
flew by. But let's move into power rankings to wrap things up. I'll go first here. So last week I had the Seahawks number one, the Pistons number two, Patriots three, Arsenal four, Knicks five, and Man United in sixth. Now I'm going to leave in the Seahawks. I know the NFL is over, but I'm going to leave them in for one more week, and then we'll move into just doing Premier League and NBA until the Premier League is over, and then we'll kick it into something else fun for the summer when the power rankings are no longer of use. But I've got the Seahawks number one still. They deserve it. Super Bowl winners. They have to be sitting here at the top. Number two, then I've gone with the Pistons still. I think they're on a great run overall. They're the best team in the East. They could have the same record as OKC pretty soon if they keep going the way they're going. And they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. Third is a new entry. I've put the Cavs in and I've put them all the way up to here because they were in the play-in mix and now they are storming ahead and they've added James Harden. They're only going to get better. They looked like they weren't taking the regular season seriously, and now they're like, oh, we better move up because we don't want to be around the play-in like come March or April. So now they're 9-1 in their last 10. They're absolutely flying it. They're pushing up to that second seed. They're very close to it. So that's where they are for me right now. I've got Arsenal still in fourth, still top of the league. Let's see. That might change if I knew the result in the Brentford game, but I think they've been good recently. They've done what they needed to do, so they're staying in fourth. Man United are in fifth, four wins and a draw in their last five, undefeated in more than that. After I think it's nine that they're undefeated in at this point, eight or nine. So they're doing great despite the draw at West Ham. They've had some great wins against tough teams recently, so they're staying in fifth. And then New York Knicks are in sixth. I keep them in, but they just moved down to sixth. Not that they've been bad or anything like that. They've still been great, but I think United have been good recently, so I just moved them up a spot. So it's Seahawks, Pistons, Cavs, Arsenal, United, Knicks. I've gone three NBA, two Premier League, and to go with the Seahawks. And next week, as I said, it'll be three Premier League and three NBA.
Yeah. So I like that list, and we'll talk about the Cavaliers in a couple of seconds. But I've gone so last week I was Seahawks, Pistons, Patriots, Knicks, United, and Arsenal. So my top two stay the same: Seahawks and Pistons. Um, I completely missed the fact that the Cavaliers have gone 9-1 in their last 10, and I put in another team who've gone 9-1 in their last 10, and the Charlotte Hornets have come in at three for me here.
Yes.
I know it's wild, it's completely out of the box, but they've just been really, really good. They're up to the nine seed now all of a sudden, and they actually look like a competent basketball team. If I'd seen the Cavaliers at 9-1, they obviously would have been here over the Hornets, but it's the Hornets who make it for me. Arsenal are up to fourth for me. Don't want to talk about them. The San Antonio Spurs, not the Tottenham Hotspurs, are in at five for me. They're 8-2 as well. They're just really, really good. And United dropped to sixth, but stay in there for me. So it's the Seahawks, the Pistons, the Hornets, Arsenal, San Antonio Spurs, and Manchester United Football Club.
Yeah, nice, nice. I love the Hornets move to put them in there. Like they've been unbelievable. Like I already mentioned a couple of weeks ago, they had the second best point differential in a single month in
Mhm.
NBA stat tracking history. So that was in January, and they've continued that into February so far. 9-1 last 10. I think they only lost by like 3 points to the Pistons, so they're charging against the best team in the East. So they'll be like someone that's really, really looking to push on into the playoffs, and I would not like to play against them. So I really like their inclusion here. They'll have to make
Yeah,
the
they're
list pretty
actually
soon for
they're
me.
actually 10-1 after last night. They beat the Hawks by three last night as well. So they're 10-1 at the moment, and they lost by six to the Pistons. But the Pistons
Okay, yeah,
are maybe the best team in basketball at the moment. We're not sure at the moment, but we'll see soon.
yeah. So they're putting it up to teams like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, interesting lists. Like love the Hornets shout. But that's it for another episode. Hope you enjoyed. As usual, we really appreciate you listening. Up to 62 episodes now and still going strong. So we'll continue to do this as long as you continue to enjoy it, and we love doing it too. So let's keep going, and I'll throw it to you, Shane, to wrap it.
Yeah, so if all those new people would like and subscribe, we'd have the 100,000 subscribers by now. So make sure you just hit that button on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and Twitter. we're putting a tweet out nearly every day from we try and get it out every day, but sometimes it's not possible. But there's at least one tweet a day going out off the Twitter page, and they're always good. So you should follow us over there as well. And then we're just cutting clips for the TikToks and the Instagrams. They're going up pretty semi regularly at the moment now. It's at least two, if not three a week, and they're always worth watching as well because the amount of times we're wrong. If you want to just come over there and laugh at us again, just go and watch the TikTok where we say things that are wrong. We did get Thomas Frank right though, so that was good. But normally our football predictions are terrible, so go follow us over there as well. I think we're only one follower away from 300 on TikTok as well. So whoever wants to be that 300, that would be great. And then we're on the road to 100,000 there as well. And we'll see you next week. Welcome back to another episode of Who's Got the Ball with Shane and James.